G'day everybody, my name is Jamie Holder and welcome to my channel. In today's video, what we're going to do is we're going to go over just some things to think about when purchasing the Mavic Air 2 or the Mavic Mini. So I'm not going to go over specs because that's been done a million times on a lot of YouTube channels. This is more about things to think of to help you purchase the correct drone that is right for you. So one of the things you want to be thinking about when you're looking at a drone and trying to work out which one, especially out of these two, because they're both top of the line, which one do you actually want? Well, what are you going to be using the drone for? Are you going to be taking family photos, going on holidays and that sort of things? Or are you going out to places that you've pre-planned? You're going to be using it for weddings, some corporate events. You're going to be, taking and showing off some of the landmarks around the area and taking some really nice, beautiful shots that you can put on the wall. So the question is what are you going to be using it for? So if you are using it for family purposes, then fantastic. This one here is going to be great. You'll be able to take it on your holiday trips and all that sort of stuff. Where this one here is more of when you're going to be doing more of that commercial stuff. When you're taking photos, are you using your mobile phone or are you using a DSLR camera? The reason for this is this drone here, the Mavic Mini, is more like using a mobile phone. When you're actually finished taking the photos, you can download them onto your phone and you're probably going to edit them. And you can also, with the footage off it, you can download to your phone, you can edit that and off it goes to wherever you want it to go. YouTube or whatever, add some music to it, whatever you're wanting to do, you can do that with that. You still do the same thing with this one here, but the problem is that if you're taking photos in RAW because you're doing it for more commercial purposes or you're shooting in 4K, that there doesn't really transfer over to your mobile as well. You're going to be needing a laptop. So that's the reason why I like to refer this one more as a DSLR, because no matter what, you're normally going to take the SD card and place it out into your laptop. This one here, you can pretty much all do all on the mobile phone or your cell phone, whatever you want to call it. So this one here is more like a DSLR. This one here is like a mobile. So whatever you're using, I'd probably stick to what you're used to, and that's which way I'd go. Mobile phone, I'd probably go with this one. If you're using a DSLR, I'd probably jump aboard over this. If you are slowly moving yourself over to a DSLR, then I'd probably be thinking over this way here. One of the other things to take in consideration is what other hardware do you have at home and what software are you using? So like I was mentioning before, just with the computer side of things, yeah, you can take out the SD card and place them both, like with both of them, you can use them through the phone or you can actually do it through the computer. Problem is that when you're using this one here and you're filming in 4K, what can happen is when you're actually editing on a really old laptop or an old computer, mobile phone, whatever, what will happen is when you're doing the playback to try to edit, it's like very sort of, and it doesn't really go nice and smooth like this. If you're filming in the 1080p or 2K, older computers, that sort of stuff, it's going to run a lot smoother. So just bear in mind that if you're going to be using this one here, so the Mavic Air 2, you kind of want new technology at home, as in laptops and brand new mobile phones, that sort of things. So when you are editing in 4K, you can actually do it properly. This one here in 2K and 1080p is going to edit really well, no matter what type of computer that you're using. If you've even got a slower computer, there are ways around it to actually speed up that footage. So it's actually that smooth playback, even if it's older. There are ways around it. But what I'd probably recommend if that was the case, newer computer at home, I'd probably go with this one. Older one, I'd probably go with this one here. Another thing to think about is the laws in your country. Do you know what laws there are that are around for you? This one here being the Mavic Air 2, unfortunately, depending on the country you're in, is going to need to be registered. You're either need to take a little course like you're going to have to very shortly in Australia. They're sort of ironing out the bugs for that one before we actually go ahead. And you're also going to have to pay a fee yearly to be able to be using this one within Australia. The fee's not going to be very high. I don't know what it is in other countries. Whether or not that is the case, I do know in America, I think you've got to register the drone. I don't know what's involved with that one there. This one here being 249 grams is going to bypass a lot of that. In Australia, you're still going to have to register it, still do that little course thing, but it's absolutely in other countries, I do believe in America, because it's under 250 grams, you bypass all those other bits and pieces. So that's another thing to take in consideration. Another thing that you want to kind of think about as well, and it's probably pretty important, is how often do you think you're going to be using the drone? Now, I started off with the Spark, and I was only using it probably about once a month, if that. But then as I started using it more and more and more, I end up getting more batteries because the battery life in this is absolutely terrible. And then I migrated over to this one here, the Mavic Mini, because it had a larger battery life. Then I started using the drone even more because it had the longer battery life. So that's where I decided to upgrade over to the Mavic Air 2. So if you aren't going to be using the drone too much, because just bear in mind, not everyone's going to be doing the same thing as what I am. What will happen is a lot of people are going to buy a drone, it's going to sit on the shelf, and they're not going to use it. It's just going to sit there and gather dust. And then every now and then they go, oh, I'm going to take the drone out. Oh, we can take a nice family photo or this and this. Then this is the drone for you. If you're not too sure, absolutely take this one here. But if you're someone who plans their trips, knows what they're going to be doing, then I would absolutely recommend this one here. So before I even go out, I know exactly where I'm going to go with this drone, and I know like what I'm trying to achieve when I'm taking this one out. So I've got a bit more of an idea of what I'm wanting to do with this one compared to this one. Portability. Now, probably one of the things that you also got to think about is portability. This one here is quite heavy, just like your DSLR. This one here is extremely light and folds away ridiculously small, and also the controller is nice and small as well. So if you're someone who just carries a small backpack around and needs something to be quite light because you like going on hikes and that side of things, this is the one for you. If you're someone who takes a big backpack because you're carrying around the DSLR, you also probably got the tripod, this one here is for you. Once again, that's the reason why I'm sort of referring into the mobile version to the DSLR, because that's what you're probably going to be used to. Do you plan to be flying this indoors or outdoors? If you are going to be flying indoors, you definitely would not be looking at the Mavic Air 2. The Mini is absolutely perfect for flying indoors. It's got if you get the Fly More combo, it comes with a little cage and you can sort of spin it around inside the house. And it is ridiculously fun to do so. With the cage, if it hits the wall like this, it's just going to go like that and hover. The cage that it comes with is absolutely fantastic. Even if it hits the roof, it's just going to sort of hover there until you bring it down. You won't do this with this because otherwise you're actually putting a little bit, if you put the cage on, which if you bought separately, is going to bring this out to about there because it's got to make clearance obviously for the blades and that sort of stuff. Also weighs down even more. So it's not something that I'd be recommending inside. This is absolutely your outside drone. If you're going to use it for indoors, this is the drone that you would be using. Then the last thing I could probably think of there for you, before the last thing that you've really got to think of is your budget. This one comes in at around $500 depending on the country that you're in. This one comes nearly just under $2,000. Once again, depending on the country you're in. In Australia, for the Fly More combo, is just under $2,000. In Australia, for this one here, it's $799 with the Fly More combo. Once again, other countries, I do believe that's a little bit cheaper because of the rate that the Australian dollar is compared to other countries. But at the end of the day, your budget is really going to come down to it. If you are thinking of buying the Mavic Air 2, just remember, because if you are doing a budget and you are buying this, the worst thing you can do is buy the Mavic Air 2 and then realize you come home and, oh damn, it doesn't actually, my hardware doesn't do the 4K very well. Best thing to do is grab your mobile phone, film in 4K, walk around the house and do some, change the location and do something in 4K. Come back, put that onto your laptop in the 4K and try to edit it. If it edits nice and smoothly, you're going to have a reasonably okay time. If it's choppy in the playback, then you don't want to go near this one here and you want to go for that one. So it's a little test you can even do before you've even bought this one here. So I really do hope that kind of helped you out quite a bit in regards to try to work out which drone is actually going to be better for you. I mean, at the end of the day, in my family, they both get used quite a bit at the moment. I use this one when I go out, and if my children want to come, they actually take this one here and they practice with this. So that way they both get to have a bit of fun flying a drone. When we do take this one out with my children though, I put it in the slow motion, so it's actually quite slow, so they can't get into any trouble. That's a little trick if you've got kids and you want to teach them how to fly a drone, put it in the slow, so it actually goes really slow for them. So there's some things that hopefully makes this easy to make a decision on whether or not you want this one and whether or not you want this one without going into specs and details and that side of things. This is more of just like, hey, this is what you're... So without going into specs or that sort of stuff, hopefully this really kind of helped out in more of a simplified way to try to work out which drone that you want. If you did find this helpful, it'd be awesome if you smash that like button. It really does help out a bit. If you are new to the channel and you'd like to subscribe, smash that subscribe button. As new videos come through, hit that bell notification or whatever the thing is. As always, I do hope you have a wonderful day. Cheers.